You're listening to Becoming CEO, where we share our journeys as solo founders to becoming the CEO of seven-figure businesses.
And these are our behind-the-scenes conversations as we figure it out, and these are things that most people just aren't sharing.
Okay, so here's the problem. You know me, I'm all about bottlenecks, right? I've been trumpeting that song for a long time. We talked about it here. Mm-hmm. We talk about it a lot on our team with clients, right? The whole premise is really simple. Every business, every system has a major bottleneck. And if you spend any time solving for a minor bottleneck that's not the major constraint in the system, you're wasting your time. The challenge is identifying what the actual bottleneck is. And this is kind of like live what I'm learning in my experience here is I think, made the mistake of relying strictly on quantitative analysis. And so, like in our world, and this may look a little bit different for you, listener, but in Greg and I's world, things are easy to measure, which is a good thing, right? We pay for leads. Some of those leads convert into, booked calls. We pay for calls. Some of those calls turn into offers, and we can measure how much money we're spending on all these things in a paid media environment. It's very straightforward. And there's obviously some complexity within that, but conceptually it's straightforward. And so I've personally made the mistake of relying too heavily on that quantitative analysis to determine where the bottleneck is. What I'm learning is there's all this other qualitative data that I think, and maybe this is me, but sometimes we dismiss qualitative data as being anecdotal. I'm guilty of this. Right? Oh, yeah, somebody said that on a sales call. Sure. Or somebody made this comment. Sure. And I think one time here and there is anecdotal. But when you start to notice trends and patterns, then that's a meaningful data point that you need to pay attention to. And personally, I think I'm guilty of not taking heed of those data points, probably for a lack of being able to process and understand and analyze them, because it's just so much easier to look at quantitative data and run things quote unquote by the numbers, which we have a whole episode on that. And I don't disagree. You need to run things by the numbers. The numbers are an important data point, but there's this whole other layer of data, qualitative data, personally, that I think I've been neglecting and I'm now paying a whole lot more attention to.
Yeah, I think it's funny because on my side, again, like we look at the same numbers, and when I see numbers that we're trying to have lower than they are right now, the current conversation, and if I'm real with myself, ever since we've started running paid ads, even just marketing, I'll even go beyond just paid ads, is we feel like our messaging is off or not clear enough. And so like when I see something like our cost per qualified call is ridiculously high, and then we listen into those conversations and we look at, the end of day sales reports that have like the qualitative recap. The thing that we go look at is like, oh, well, like, is there a way that our messaging or the thing that we're saying, the call to action in the ad, the message in the ad, the whatever, the hook, is there any way that could be leading to the unqualified person that's, moving on this, that is ending all the way downstream? And like, we always come back to, yeah, we think it is. So for me, the quantitative cost per lead, cost per call, all that stuff really are, laser pointers on like, hey, like here's where you should go look to see what you're saying, because maybe what you're saying is leading to that number being higher than you want it to be or need it to be for the business to, continue running effectively. And I think the frustrating part for me is the getting the numbers to making the qualitative changes and actually getting it right to then see the numbers move in the right direction. It's like, I know we need to probably fix this thing and this thing to see the number move. Like, I love that I can know that that's the area to fix, but it feels like I've still yet to crack the nut on that one. And I'm guilty of comparing myself to other people. And it seems like my numbers are always so much higher than everybody else is. And when I look at all of these things, like even with people that are in similar markets, it's like their message and their offers are just so much, to me, so much more crystal clear. Yet for us, it kind of seems like we don't nail it.
So I think this episode is going to turn into like an ode to messaging. And why messaging is always a problem. Because we have the opposite problem of you. Opposite might not be the right word. We have fantastic cost per call numbers. We have fantastic, quantitative metrics up until someone gets on the phone. We got more leads than we can reasonably handle. Where we're falling off right now, as of time of this recording, and it ebbs and flows, is the close rate. And again, actively learning here, right? Part of me is like, the salespeople need to be better at closing. And there may be some truth to that. But how do I know in this case, that's the major bottleneck versus a minor bottleneck? How do I know that it's the messaging at the top of the funnel that, if reframed, adjusted, modified, there's always opportunities to do so, doesn't improve the quality of the people that's coming through the funnel? Even if that means higher costs, because right now, if I look at our costs, we have lots of margin for error. Like, my cost can go up by 30% right now, and I'm okay if my close rate improves. You see what I'm saying? So this is the challenge for me. Is like, could the salespeople close better? Yes. But is the true bottleneck at the top the actual message we're communicating to the marketplace before somebody gets on a phone call? Could changing that yield improvements to the entire system? And I think a little bit of nuance here, right? Generally speaking, the changes you make at the beginning of the system are going to have compounding effects throughout the system. So use a simple example of, manufacturing, right? If I feed in better raw materials, higher quality wood at the beginning of the system, it makes the rest of the process easier, and the end product, the tables or the chairs or whatever you're building, higher quality, versus a change at the end of the system.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I guess, if I'm hearing it correctly, like, when I kind of said, I forget if this was in our first attempt at recording this or not, but like, we realized when we looked at some of the stuff that we believe the reason we were having a lot of calls booked that were quote unquote unqualified was because the messaging we had at the top, like, it was attracting too much of a new person to business, when like our ideal person has been kind of at least in it for a couple of years and arguably stuck. And when we looked at the messaging, we could see how that was kind of attracting freebie seekers, right? And so, like, yes, we were getting calls booked, but we still weren't having the sales, right? And so, like you were saying, well, then maybe that's a sales problem. But if you think your messaging is attracting a lot of, freebie seekers or people that you could, like, statistically could be qualified but are not in a buying position, doesn't that come back to, like, maybe as clear and enticing as your offer is, maybe it's still attracting too many of the wrong people? Yeah, you have all the KPI of calls is hitting, we have enough leads that we know, like, we can can't even shake a stick at, but like, if it's still not resulting in final numbers, there's still something wrong. And if you're listening to the conversations and there's no urgency in these people, like, I don't think that, to a degree, I think a salesperson can create urgency, but if the person's coming because it was an invitation and they felt bad saying no, or, hey, I'm going to see what this is about, even though I'm not thinking at all about solving this problem, or I don't even think I have a problem yet. I was just interested in this resource. Like, you might be talking to people, way too early in the buyer's journey, and that might be your messaging. Like, that's like, I feel like that would be the only explanation to me, as that would make sense in that example, because like the numbers tell you one thing, but when you listen, like when we listen, we got a lot of, oh, I'm just getting started, and like this is helpful, but they're not in any sort of pain. And we know that most of our sales come from people that have been stuck at a certain point, so they've felt a certain amount of pain. And so when you hear that over and over again, which is the qualitative part, it's like, okay, well, it wouldn't even matter if we had full sales calendar right now, because it would be full of people that we were still turning down, right? And so like that's where some of those numbers could be misleading. I think, as you're saying, it's like, well, the only other explanation is messaging, right? Like, I mean, what else could it be?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really good point. I think at one point, my belief or my philosophy was, listen, just get people that are demographically qualified on the calendar. That was my approach, right? Like if they're the right person, right business, right type of offer, etc., we want to talk to them. And I think that's worked to varying degrees, but it does present this problem around, but how do you know if they're ready to buy? And I think there is something around, if someone's willing to get on a phone with a stranger and have a consultation, there is something there, but it varies in terms of orders of magnitude, right? There are people that get on who are absolutely motivated buyers, have been in pain for a while, actively looking for a solution. And there are people who, to your point, are earlier on in the buyer's journey trying to collect data. And I think at one point my philosophy was, that's okay. Engage them with our team, show them what we can do. Even if they buy later, that's fine. It becomes a problem when you have a capacity constraint in the calendar and the calendar's full with people who are not ready to buy today. And then absolutely the opportunity here with the marketing, easier said than done, of course, is how do you attract people who are ready to buy today, not in 90 days or whatever it may be.
Yeah. And then, if for those that haven't listened to the last few episodes, you also compound that with stuff that we can't control, like a recession. Like are fewer people ready to buy today? I think that there's still plenty of people that are ready to buy and invest, especially in our market, as we kind of talked about in last episode. Like people in our market have, I think, a really great opportunity to get ahead right now. But we talked about that last time. I think the thing where I kind of start to go off the rails is, like, I came back from this event in Miami a couple weeks ago, and I was talking to other people in my space that I'm in a mastermind with that sell to pretty close to my exact demographic, my same avatar. And one of them has been in the game for a really, really long time. And so like, and a numbers head. And he was like, well, if you think about who your avatar is, the math basically says that 97% of all leads that I collect aren't going to be qualified. 97%. Right. And so like that started making me ask different questions, right? Like, because, well, now do I have to play the game that I feel like some other people are playing and have these lower ticket things that just monetize my ad spend so I'm break even, so that it doesn't cost me a lot of money to get the 3% to make moves? And yeah, ads is my largest expense, and part of why I'm in some of this, because we spend so much money on ads and we're so reliant on ads, it's like it all starts to cascade around, well, now I'm just trying to monetize leads that I can't really, aren't my ideal fit, just so that I can hopefully get enough of the people that I need that are ready. And I'm honestly asking the question, like, is that worth it? And I think this goes into the complexity of the actual quantitative piece, because we all know that some of these tracking tools, as good as they are, like, it can seem like something's helping or not, but if you turned it off, you're like, oh, my ads aren't working. But if you turn it off, everything stops working. You're like, well, that's weird, right? Like, my ads do help people come into my world, and they then take actions not related to ads later. But like if that whole downstream, then those numbers start falling just because I stopped spending, like, can we survive that? Like, and I don't know, is, the real answer. But like, to me, it all comes back to messaging. Like if I could speak to that person, I'm still aiming to my messaging to speak to such a small percentage of the market that I still have the balance of, it needs to be so good and so on point that I'm getting enough of those people to buy in that window of time to cover the expense that I incurred to get them even on the phone. And so I don't know, that's where I'm at with it, is like, I don't know if I'm going to get my messaging to the point where I'm really speaking to those people. I mean, like, it feels like I speak to them now, but we obviously generate a lot of people that are unqualified. And I only see more and more people that are saying very similar things to me. So it's like now you play the game of, well, how does your messaging differ so that you stand out? And quite frankly, I think, and this is maybe my little tainted, jaded current state of Greg, but like, as a human being, I'm a grown ass man. I'm 40 years old. I have 2 kids. Going against some of these people that are younger, there are certain things that I just won't say in my marketing because I won't sleep at night, that I know other people will, and I will underperform because of it. But I'm kind of okay with that right now, because I don't want to make certain claims and promises that I see other people making that I think probably, if there was some sort of filter, wouldn't even make it through. But like, we're competing against that stuff, right? And so we have to stand out and make things sound sexier than they are, which I think is marketing. And I don't know. I don't know how to do that in a way that makes me feel like I'm not a scumbag.
I had no idea where we're going here, but this is really interesting.
Right.
So I obviously
Ode to messaging.
This is that's the title of the episode. Ode to messaging. So obviously have very similar challenges, right? In the sense of there's people. We found a guy who, one of my salespeople mentioned, oh, somebody came on a call and they're looking at this other program. It looks really similar to ours. And I was like, yeah, whatever. There's lots of copycats, right? And didn't really pay any attention to it. And then somebody DM'd me on Instagram an ad from the same person who I've connected the dots later that literally is using an image from one of my ads. Okay. And the image is like the screenshot of a video that I recorded, and we use that as an image in an ad. And it's like a slide with my face in it on the loom, like that little loom box, right? And he just cut my face out. And he used the exact same image. It's my image in his ad. Is wild. All right. The point is, to your point, like, yeah, there's people doing stuff that we wouldn't do because we have a conscience and we've been in this game for more than 3 months, right? And survived. But I think, so I'll tell you what I hear from the market, and I think it's true, and it probably applies to you as well, is smart people see past bogus claims. And in every market, there's, there are absolutely the people that like they want to see the big claims and the big promises, and they want to see the jet in the image, and they want to see the when Lambo, right? There's that market.
Yeah.
And then there's people who are like, just don't respond to any of that stuff and actually want to see somebody with, a genuine track record and genuinely useful things to say. Because what also comes with the big claim, big promise, folks, is a lot of hype and very little substance. And smart people see through them right away. So what I've found, because we're not really hypey in our marketing. Like, to use this other example, this other guy, his claim in his marketing is you will get 10 inquiries per week. Our claim is you'll get 10 opportunities per month.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to play the volume of opportunity game, because who the hell actually wants 10 inquiries per week? Like, if you're market, like very high ticket consulting, nobody wants that kind of volume. They want to do a couple of deals a month max, right?
Yeah.
So point being, I think that there's a market within your market, likely that 3% that you want to be appealing to, who doesn't want the hype and doesn't want the promises and wants genuine value and authenticity from a guy with a track record, which you deliver.
It's funny. I had someone reach out to me on Instagram and they were like, hey, no offense, dude, love your content, but you should get a spokesperson. And I'm like, what do you mean? And the whole message, very thorough, mind you, was about how basically my interpretation was like, I think you just called me old and unattractive, and pretty sure is what you said. And he's like saying that, he's like, I'm pretty sure your market is this, this, and this. And I'm like, he's like, and I know I'm 100% right. Don't you agree? And I'm like, I don't agree. Most of my clients have kids. They're not these like 20-year-olds that you think are my audience. So I don't know what, like, it was just such a weird, but again, to messaging, like everyone has this different, view. And it's like, I can think my stuff is super crystal clear, but there's thousands upon thousands of people that will disagree.
Well, and what do the buyers think? Seth Godin famously said there's only two opinions that matter. It's your clients and your accountants, right? What do the buyers think? I had somebody message me on LinkedIn once and goes, hey, I keep seeing your stuff, man. You need to fix your messaging. If you want to play with the big boys like Dan Lok, you need to fix your messaging. I'm like, dude, I do not want to play anything with Dan Lok, first of all. Okay.
Yeah.
Like you and who are you, right? Like, what have you done?
Yeah.
What's your track record? Who cares, right? At the end of the day, what are the people that are like writing checks, swiping credit cards? What are they saying about your messaging? That's what matters.
Yeah. So for me, and this is probably not where that you wanted the episode to go, but like, I'm asking, like the question that I'm asking myself because of this, like this place that we're in, I think we talked about previously, like having this lower ticket item that helps, quote unquote, which I hate this freaking word, like liquidate our ad spend, but like break even on ad spend so that, hey, yeah, like we can monetize this, like say you spend whatever, 50K a month on ads and you could sell 40 or 50K worth of stuff to people that, means you don't have any cost to acquire those 3%. Like, that's great. But it's like, is there a way to do it a different way? Like, I'm asking myself, like, okay, well, what if I took 10 grand of that ad spend and I use it somehow to double down on like my YouTube channel? And I go from publishing 1 long form video and 3 shorts a week to 2 shorts a day and 2 long forms a week that are like answering questions from people that are intelligent that search YouTube because it's a search based thing. Like, can I actually turn these other assets that I have into a reliable lead source where I'm not as dependent upon, or in a situation where maybe I now have to, sell X amount of product just so that I have no cost to acquire? Or is this just the game that we all have to play in order to, hit the numbers that we want to hit? Like this conversation, I remember we were when we met, we were in a mastermind where this conversation of needing front end products to liquidate was when you started getting to like the $300,000 and $400,000 a month range is where like it kind of kicked in where you need it. And it seems like it's like more in, hey, you just crossed 1 million and you need to be liquidating because there's more competition. The cost of ads have gone up. Ryan Deiss's keynote presentation at Traffic and Conversion was about this. Like, I mean, it's not just us. Like it's a thing. Like the cost to acquire clients has gone up. And I've seen anywhere from, and I mean, I think even Hormozi, the Purple Book, he made a comment in a more recent episode. He's like, if you're in services, agency, coaching, consulting, like, and you're using paid advertising, your cost to acquire, all in, commissions, everything, is probably somewhere between 1,500 and 5K, which is very in line with where we're at. Like, and unfortunately, sometimes higher. And so it's like, you have to be better now than like it was easier before. Like you said, like a few episodes ago, like the game has changed. You can't, we're not subsidizing. The platforms aren't subsidizing for us anymore. And so we need to do something about it. It's like, is this the answer? Do we have to appeal to the beginner just to hopefully find those few smart folks or established folks that are that 3% for the example I gave earlier? Like, I want to feel like there's another way. Like I want to. I really want to believe there's another way, because it's in some ways a little bit depressing, to be honest. It's like, okay, I got to go monetize all these people that probably will never become clients ever. But in order to find that 3%, you got to do what you got to do. Like, I don't know.
I think it comes down to the decision about, do you want to be a direct response guy or do you want to be something else? Like, if you want to be a direct response guy, then that's the game. 100%. If you want to run a different model, which obviously is in the short term disruptive, then yeah, there's other models. But for better or for worse,
to me, like, if you want to, I don't know many people in our space. Let me take that back. Of the people that I know that acquire and are doing high 7 figures, even 8 figures with relatively little dependency on paid ads, are people that have been in the game for like 10 plus years and like have a really big client base, and they never lose clients. And they only need and or care about getting 5 or 10 clients a month, because they have less than 2% churn on memberships that are $2 to $5 grand a month, and they have hundreds of clients. And so like they're
very few and far between, those people.
Yeah, they are few and far between. I mean, like, I'm in a mastermind where there's seems to be a lot of them. A lot of them are international. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I can't imagine it does. But they're all 10 years older than I am, and in not my market, and have been at it just way longer. And so it's like, obviously it's tough to compare yourself to someone that's so many years ahead of you, but doing it longer. It's dumb. But like, the people that I know that don't rely on ads, or at least as much as it feels like a lot of our market does, it are just people that have like been at it for years and decades. And there's a smaller population of the people that I see that spend sub 50K a month on ads, which might sound a ton for some people. To me, seems like a reasonable amount, not like crazy, that spend that amount, but still get most of their clientele from other channels like outbound or like organic. Like, they actually do have they have 100,000 followers on YouTube, and that stuff adds up, like, because every video that you post is basically a VSL, or if you have 30,000 people watching, even 15,000 people watching two of your videos every single week that you just put out there, like that competes with fundamentally what we're doing. We're paying money to get someone to watch a 20-minute video that compels them to buy. Like, if you have a large audience, every one of your videos could have a call to action, and it's like a matter of time before you get people moving, right? And so I don't know, like, I have 15,000 subscribers on YouTube, and it's difficult to tell how many people actually found us from YouTube, or that was like the lead source. We have a lot of people reference the YouTube videos, but like, when I look at where our leads came from, I mean, it seems like most of the volume comes from paid ads. And you never know, right? Like, well, maybe they just got retargeted and they came from an ad, but they originally found me from a YouTube search. It's like, you still don't know. And so I don't know, like, to me, it seems like it's outbound, figure out ad liquidation, obviously still while improving your messaging, right? Like, but for our ideal clients, there are just fewer of them, I believe. Like, mathematically, if I need to have people, my best clients, when we look at the data, they've been in business for at least 2 years and have been stuck between 20 and 40K. Like, that's the best clients that we have. Those clients stay with us for a while. Like, I think I saw somewhere in the United States, there's 500,000 businesses being started every single month. Like, what's the best business to start with? Service. Like, the percentage of these that are freelancers and like, service providers of some sort is extremely high. And so those are all the people that are opting into our stuff, that are trying to figure the game out. There's just way more of them. And so I don't know, it seems even if you had the perfect messaging, you're probably not going to get all of your ideal people. And so this still kind of becomes an active conversation about the ad spend piece.
I think at the end of the day, may the best marketers win. I think that's what ends up happening, right? Like it is harder now than it was before. To me, that doesn't worry me about people like you and me, because I think we're, frankly, better at this game than most people. And been, notwithstanding some of the OGs who are few and far between, been at it longer than most people. We got competitors whipping up ads, largely ripping us off every month. And then 3-6 months from now, they're going to be wiped out. Right. Yeah. And so obviously it's on us to innovate and to change the model. Like, may the best marketer win. To me, that means innovating on the messaging, because people are going to rip you off, and then you've got to and the consumer can't tell the difference. So then you've got to take the next step in the marketing, and also innovating the model. To your point, maybe it does mean that you have to offer some low ticket stuff to liquidate ad spend, et cetera.
Is it like? And we've had this conversation
with the ripoff piece.
What? No. I mean, the statement of like, may the best marketer win. I had a conversation. I'll leave the person's name out, but well established, been in the game for a long time, has books that people in our audience probably would have read. And we were chatting, and he made this comment, and about like people in our space that are doing it with professionalism. And I was like, tell me more. Like, what do you mean by that? And he made a comment that basically says, like, everyone in the community that we are in, like a couple communities that he mentioned, everyone thinks they have a marketing problem when they actually have a product problem, a credibility problem, and a results problem. And they're not doing anything. And this is something that Hormozi has talked about too. Like, at some point, you could be the best marketer, but if your shit stinks and it doesn't do what it says it's going to do, and people aren't getting results, that negative word of mouth will exponentially compound and take away from your marketing. And so, like, that's going back to these OGs that I'm referring that don't need to rely on ads. Like, they have such positive word of mouth coming out of their large client bases that creates a flywheel of new prospects just from that. And they don't lose clients. So the need to be a great marketer actually doesn't stress them out at all. Like, one of these guys doesn't even run ads, and he does 15 mil a year. Like, that's pretty impressive. Again, been at the game for a while, but like, never lose clients. If you see videos of him with his clients, like, they are raving fans, right? Raving fans. And so I don't 100% agree with the best marketer wins, because it feels like it's the person who can just not lose clients. It's obviously a combination, but like, some of these guys don't even need marketing now, the way that we're talking about it, direct response. Like, so they're beating me, and they don't need to be the best marketer.
I think that's an important nuance, right? Like, when they built their critical mass of clients, they were the best marketer.
Maybe.
Why else would people buy?
Well, what if they don't really market?
Well, they had to at one point, right?
I don't know. I guess. Yeah, maybe.
You see what I'm saying? Like, if this is people...
But not paid ads. Maybe not paid ads.
Maybe not, but regardless, right?
Yeah.
If we're talking about people that have a ton of good word of mouth and referral volume, and they've got a big enough client base, they only need to rely on a little bit of incremental gains every month. That's someone that's built an audience in their client base over the long haul, and probably at one point was a really good marketer when they hit critical mass, and therefore didn't need to rely on marketing at that point. I think there's a point for sure. Yeah, and I don't think being the best marketer absolves you of the responsibility of delivering a great service. I think if I could offer more nuance to my previous statement, The best marketer wins in the short term.
Yeah.
The best, business person, owner, product, etc., wins the long-term game. Absolutely. This is why so many of our competitors are flashes in the pan, because they don't have anything meaningful to offer in terms of substance. And then they get eaten alive by negative word of mouth and refunds and chargebacks and etc., etc., etc. And they disappear. They don't have staying power. You can be a great marketer and get a short-term spike, but you're not going to last if you don't have anything on the back end to deliver the goods.
Yeah. The same person, I'll kind of expose myself a little bit, but I think it's true. Like, I know that all of this conversation, right? Like, I'd be lying if it didn't mentally take a toll on me a little bit, right? Like, man, like I can't get through the clutter, or, like, costs so much to get these people. It's like, it wears on you a lot when, like, you keep testing different messaging and it doesn't feel like it's working. And, you kind of feel like you're running out of, sometimes I feel like I'm running out of time or money. And so with that, like, keeping clients longer, I made this comment about, like, yeah, like we've done relatively well with, like, keeping churn low. We obviously still have people that churn. It's higher than I'd like. And he's like, well, yeah, but he's like, I know the number one reason why your market churns, and I would classify this as our market, is that people just decide they don't want to do the model that you offer. And when I look at the people that leave our world, that's usually the reason. It's like, yeah, like, I actually don't want to do it this way anymore, or like I got a new opportunity, I want to pursue that. It's like, it's the departure of the reason why they came to in the first place. It's not that it's not working or anything like that. It's like they just want something different now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you can't control that. So he's like, that's always going to be your highest part of churn, because you're offering a way of doing and building an agency and growing and scaling an agency. And some people, once they get in far enough, might decide that that's not for them. And there's nothing you can do about that. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually pretty accurate. Like, and unfortunately for some of the people that do churn out that way, they go back to the way of old, which was in some ways worse for them, but, like, they know nothing else. And so they just go back to the norm. But again, I can't beat myself up over that. Right. Like, but how do you take that and then improve your messaging? Like, that's the question I ask myself. Like, how do I take all of this info that I have about what's going on and then say something and articulate it in a way where I get, more of those 3% of people to want to make moves. And again, it's, I think, ode to messaging. And I'd say part of why I think some of these people don't make it is this is an ongoing thing. And especially as tech continues to evolve, these platforms continue to evolve. With all the new YouTube features, like, they're saying, like, they're gonna eat TikTok's lunch. Like, these swings in where everyone's attention is going is going to constantly require us to modify our messaging to play in those different ponds. And some people won't be able to find a way to sustainably keep adapting. And that's why they disappear. So it's ode to messaging, but I think it's, like, also ode to business. Like, hey, you wanted to build a big business. That's hard. And it's going to take you constantly trying to refine the quantitative and qualitative metrics that make the whole machine work, so that you can keep the lights on, so that you can do the lifestyle that you want, so you can pay the people well. It's hard. Like, this is why I tell my clients, I'm like, yo, you signed up for a at least a 3-year journey, like 3-year journey, 1-year commitment. Like, and that's just to get to 7 figures, like, so if you want to go bigger, like, you got to be in this for the long game. And I think just the reality is most people aren't. Most people aren't, because it's hard. And this is one reason why.
What a time to be alive.
It is still the best time to be alive, though, to end on the positive note. Like, I don't think there's any better time.
And I look forward to a couple of years from now when we're able to talk about the lessons that we learned right now. and we enter a more of a robust growth cycle, and we benefit from the decisions that we made today and the challenges that we were able to overcome. It's exciting.
Yeah, my one prediction on that is that I'll probably have more gray hair than I already have. I can say that with
I'll probably
utmost
have less
certainty.
hair than I already have.
Yeah, I'd rather go gray than lose it. But hey guys, if you enjoyed this and you got value, we would really appreciate a rating and review wherever you consume the show, so that we can get into more ears. This is, as you can imagine, somewhat therapeutic for us. We don't get to have these conversations. We hope that you enjoy listening to them. But mention us on any of the socials. We'd love to hear what you thought. Take a screenshot of you listening to the episode, tag one of us or both of us, and we look to see you in the next one.